Okay, so then this area behind here, is that ever moved?
No, she's coming in months.
Yeah. Mexican bush?
Donald's gonna be here. So he's kind of here. Here, 500.
We're not taking the ski trail.
Well, it might be because it is the first for a long time.
Hello, everyone.
I don't. Good evening. Welcome to the March 23rd Town of Inuvik regular council meeting. First item of business is call to order. We have a quorum. Next is the adoption of the agenda. We have an addition, 8.2, April 11th Committee of the Whole meeting cancellation. I need a mover for the amended agenda. Councilor Merrill, seconded by Deputy Mayor Kulikowski. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Motion's carried. Item 3, declaration of conflict of interest or pecuniary interest. Councilor Devlin.
So I don't know if I need to declare a strict conflict, but one of this proposed Aurora campus housing sites is currently owned by my employer. I'm not too sure if that affects anything here, so I just want to mention that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I don't believe you have a conflict of interest, but thanks for letting us all know. Item number 4, delegations, presentations, or petitions. We have 4.2 presentation on the Aurora College transition, and we have Amanda Blair here. If you'd like to sit at the microphone.
So my name is Amanda Blair and I live in Yellowknife. I work.
Yeah, sorry, you have to get a little closer.
Oh, yeah.
Put this in the-
You'll need to speak up too, okay?
You bet.
Yeah,
I could do this without slides if that's easier.
We think it's the actual, this little owl here, not the projector.
this area. You can actually take off your mouth when you're presenting if that helps you.
Sure, it will help for the volume. Shall I keep going? Yeah, okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here with you tonight. My name is Amanda Blair and I live in Yellowknife and I work for a community planning firm called Planet North. We've been hired with some other consultants to work for ECE to do the facilities master plan for the future Polytechnic University for the NWT. And so, yes, Grant, is it best if I do it without slides?
I'll give it 30 seconds here just to see what we get.
So just to give you a bit of an overview about where the Aurora College transformation is and how this fits in. So the facilities master plan is really intended to be a long-term planning document for the facilities so that decisions that are starting to be made now are kept in line with that longer term vision. And I think that really the main tool for the GNWT is that this document will help to pursue and secure funding for investments in facilities for the new Polytechnic University. So everything that we're talking about today is really on, I keep thinking on that sort of 10-year time horizon. And just to say that I'm really interested in your feedback, and by no means, essentially what we're trying to do is put together some options that are viable for ECE to consider as they go about their planning. Did anyone have any questions about the Polytechnic University or college transformation? I can try to answer them. Yes, please.
Where are we in the process? We haven't heard anything virtually for the last 2 years.
Yeah, so I'm not the best person to speak to it, but I'll let you know where I understand things to be. So some legislation just happened just before the end of the year around having a new board of directors for the institution. So there's governance changes that are happening right now. I think in parallel to the facilities planning, they're also working on planning for programs and governance. So the way I understand it is that when the new board and the decision-making structures in place, that's when other decisions will be happening from the programming side. For the facilities master plan, the public components of that are supposed to be issued by ECE this summer. So I expect that'll be August likely. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
So just a couple of things that I wanted to share with you that I think have already been identified as priorities for facilities. So the first is to expand the research facilities here in Inuvik as part of the Aurora campus. I think that's already underway in some regards. There's expansions to work that are happening. A second priority is student housing in Fort Smith for the Thabacha campus. The third is a new North Slave campus in Yellowknife. So essentially a distinct Yellowknife campus of some kind. And then the fourth is planning for the network of community learning centers and how those can be more a part of the Polytechnic University and essentially a hub in communities so that people can access more programming and also perhaps as a linkage for research to be done from those hubs. Please.
So is the campus here staying as an actual campus with learning on it, or is the plan to turn it into a research center?
So we're working under the assumption that all of the programs that are at your campus today, at the Aurora campus today, would continue on.
There's very limited programs on campus, is what I'm
Okay.
asking. It used to be a very busy campus. It's basically been brought down to about 2 programs. So, and you may not be the right person to answer that question, but just to put it out there.
Yeah, thank you. And I think just to flag that one of the things that is, a bit awkward about the process is that we're talking about facilities in tandem to programs. So certainly I understand that it's difficult to talk about facilities when you don't necessarily have an understanding of the vision for the programming.
So you mentioned a second ago that there's plans to expand housing in Fort Smith for students, expand the campus in Yellowknife.
Yeah.
Can you tell us if there's any intention to expand housing here for our students in Inuvik?
So I think that, so it is what we would like, I'd like to get your feedback on today. So it has been flagged by Aurora College and ECE that particularly family housing is a constraint. So for the purposes of today, what I really appreciate your feedback on is the idea of that there's going to be growth in programming, and that what would you like to see for that? So for example, some things that I've heard from other stakeholders has been around expansion of the trades program here and what that might mean from a facilities standpoint. Another, I understand that in the past you had quite a robust arts program that was going on, that like things like high tanning was happening and so on. And so those things would have specific facility related components that we want to consider. So certainly any feedback like that.
Quick follow, for housing, is there also consideration for staff and for instructors as well as part of that housing
Yeah.
discussion?
So Absolutely, let's put that forward. So I don't know much about, as far as I know, there's no housing offered right now for faculty here. But I actually don't know the answer to that, but yes, please.
Can I just suggest that if you check on that, you're gonna find out the answer is the GNWT does not provide staff housing. They're actually, the college does have the research housing, where sometimes where instructors come in for short periods of time, they may stay there, but as far as moving and living here, that's extraordinarily unlikely unless the GNWT change their financial practices.
I'm just wondering about, I just lost my train of thought for a second. As far as, shoot, I'll get back to you on this one. Just had it. I usually
Further
don't, not
questions?
have something not to say.
Deputy Mayor Kulikowski.
I guess just, is there more presentation to come to discuss these papers? Okay,
Yes,
so
yeah,
I'll hold my questions till later. then.
you bet.
Will there be an opportunity when we're talking about some purpose-built buildings in case of for programming? Will there be opportunity to consult at a future date on some of that curriculum development with town councils and sort of members of our community here? And I say that because I'm particularly about professional trades programs, so communications, IT, that end of things. We have a dearth of those positions in this community that are not filled by locals. And I would like to start pushing on that. And I think it's 2022. But anyway, just wondering if there will be that opportunity to be able to contribute to that process while you guys are trying to figure out this, the housing and building inventory to come.
Yeah, so I, in all of the summaries that we're providing based on this type of engagement, we're putting forward even things that come forward for programming. So recommendations around communications and IT we can certainly include. My expectation is that that Aurora College and the GNWT will continue to do engagement as they go through this process, but I won't be here. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. Cheers.
Any further questions? Councillor Gallons, could you shut your microphone off? Thank you. Just a reminder, before you want to ask a question or make a statement, you should be recognized by the chair, not just speak out of turn. Thank you. Continue.
So if there's the opportunity to just ask some broad questions, I guess what I would love your feedback on is your vision for what the Polytechnic University, what it could be like, especially the Aurora campus. And perhaps as part of that, we could build on any opportunities that exist, particularly for the municipality of Inuvik, because of that. And in some of the prep work that we did today, it was also mentioned how important the campus here is to the entire region. So yeah, does anyone have any feedback about if they could imagine 10 years down the road, it's a vibrant campus, what does that look like for you?
Councillor Merrill.
There's a lot that can be developed on the Arctic. We often hear about Fort Smith and Yellowknife called the Arctic. They're not. The geography is different. The geology is different. The dealing with the permafrost, the ice, the snow, the cold temperatures is very different. So I think that is basically could be the specialty of this campus. I first came here 23 years ago to teach at Aurora College. And during that time, I'll be really blunt, I've seen that campus be gutted from being an extraordinarily busy campus. Lots of programs, very wide range, to basically now offering the office admin programs. Well, while they're very, very important, the more academic programs have disappeared. So the natural resources technology program is gone, the recreation leaders program is gone, the social work program was here at one point, the criminal justice program was here. They've basically all disappeared. And the history in Inuvik is if a program does here, it gets stolen by Fort Smith or Yellowknife. So we need to develop programs that reflect this area and the importance of learning in this area. So whether that is an Arctic engineering program or like some of the science, Kurt, you're very involved in that on the ground level, like the actual things that work in the Arctic. There's more and more interest in the Arctic. There's exploration in the Arctic. The Arctic is opening up. It is warming up. There's a lot of research around that, but there's no teaching around that. So how do we build a program around teaching around that? And then when you look at the social programs the college offers, the culture in Fort Smith and Yellowknife is vastly different than this area. So how do you have programs that reflect that? And I know many years ago we had, Patricia's in the audience might be able to help me. We had a child care program here. I'm probably not using the right term, but early childhood education. Bringing something like that back. I think there are many, many programs that you make this the Arctic campus and build on that. And that's probably our strongest way to go, because a general program is going to end up in Yellowknife or Fort Smith. And quite honestly, Fort Smith has trades racked up.
Thank you. Any other questions? Comments, Councillor Gowans?
Thank you, your worship. I think through to our last point, what I'd like to see is a campus that can respond to needs of our employers in our town, in our region. A campus that is very flexible and adaptable so that as new needs arise, the campus can respond with the appropriate programs that support the students. And what I'd like to see is a minimal transition period for students where they identify a program or a trade, whatever it is, and they can get the training and then they can get out in the workforce so that they're not stuck kind of waiting for the program, or they've done the program and the window to find an employer is passed by. Now they gotta kind of sit for 3 months or 6 months and do something that they didn't go to school for. And I think we can be flexible and adaptable. And I know that there's reference material about what our community wants. We've done community labor market development plans where we flagged it. Career development and ECUNE went through, spoke to employers, spoke to the residents of our town, our region, flagged their ideas on what do we want to see for training, what do we have in place now, what are the gaps. We've got a matrix as well that does a similar thing where, you know, you can look at those things, at least as a starting point, and say, this is what it has said, and the reason has said that they'd like to see when it comes to programs and training.
Councillor Deborah.
Thanks. One thing that's sort of coming up in our soon future, next 5 to 10 years, both the Inuvik and Gwich'in are certainly negotiations for self-government. So I'd love to see an Indigenous governance program up here. I think that we're a very unique community and that we are a shared community. And I think there will be some challenges with 2 self-governments also at the same time for the future. So I think sort of at the ground level, I think that'd be very effective. Also, as far one of our new sort of strategic priorities that we're examining right now with the town is cold weather testing and sort of putting together perspectives on that. So, you know, sort of related around cold weather testing. I mean, that might be a bit more of the ARI research end, but still there might be some curricular programs that might sort of play into that. But certainly the Indigenous governance, and I've taken Gwich'in youth for a number of years down on university tours, and that is one of the strong connection points to them deciding to pursue some post-secondary education is that connection. And I think that's a very valuable course. And like I said, moving forward, it will help build the capacity of our community to take on self-government, which of course is much bigger than what it is right now. Thank you.
Councillor Merrill.
This campus has also had a very active arts program. I think of 4 different times we offered it, some a 2-year program, one a 1 year, whether that was jewelry making or printmaking or different forms of art, but very popular, very high success rate. And you still see people that are contributing to their standard of living through the art that they produce, and not just learning how to make the art, but then how to sell and market the art.
Deputy Mayor Kulikowski.
Thank you. So just a couple points. I think like looking at this map of potential sites for some buildings and things, incorporating like the entire community into the plans for the future. So certainly most of Aurora College's buildings right now are right down or in the downtown core. So looking at having, you know, a couple of these options be west of Berger Street is nice to see. One of the things that the college used to have, and I think mostly because it was a hand-me-down from when the military left, was that there used to be a gym, like a gymnasium separate from the school that used to be used for athletics and other things. And so if we're looking at having a really robust campus, I think that having that place as well would be an important thing to add to the community, kind of like a fitness and wellness space, even if it's not a full gymnasium, but a multi-purpose area. And then just if we're talking about courses or opportunities, I think tourism and hospitality is something that could definitely be a benefit. Lots of opportunity for learning and teaching right on the ground as the tourism industry in our community and in the region continues to grow. So I think those would be where I would bring forward at this time. Thank you.
Just a reminder before we go on, Amanda's here to discuss facilities, not programming, but she will pass on the information about programming. Okay, any other questions, comments? You'd like to continue?
Yes, I'd love to just talk about those maps. I'm glad that you have printouts in front of you because the overhead isn't working here. Looking at the same thing. So I guess I would love any insights about the space around the campus itself. And so that's the map that's sort of in the blue and green with the buildings marked on it there. And so you'll see some sort of proposals that we have that we'd like to include in the plan about maintaining some of that land so that it doesn't get taken over with other uses, so that if there is expansion in the future and additional buildings for things like purpose-built space, as you're mentioning earlier, that the space is still there to do that. That section A there would be kept for future expansion, and we're proposing essentially having landscaping there in the interim until that space was needed. And B, to be kept as open space and have that as a green space and gathering space. And then the potential for section C to be.
We don't have it ABC.
Yeah, we don't.
Oh, you don't have
It's not the
ABC.
purple patches.
Wow, I'm so
Is that-
sorry.
That's not gonna work.
So let me try to
I'll try
explain
again
this.
and see.
I can try to explain it. I apologize that I put a more recent something in the slide pack. So the area A is adjacent to the daycare, and C is where today the trades trailers are there, the kind of mobile units are listed, but maybe we can handle the squealing just even for this one slide.
Here, A&B.
You want to press your button on that?
Okay,
Try it
great.
now.
Thank you. I'm
Oh.
so sorry. I'm grateful. Thank you for letting me know.
Well, other than,
Because they said, hold off on it.
It's still a bit tough to see there, but so the building that's marked as number 1 and it's brown, essentially, it's right, let's see if I can even show the cursor. So just south of that, because that is the windows of the existing academic building face south. And so that's the other reason for keeping B as that B section, which is just underneath it there as open green space, is to ensure that there will always be light that gets into the building and not blocked by any future development. And then A here is where we were proposing future expansion to hold it essentially for future expansion and to have landscaping. And then C is just east of the academic building, and today it's where the trailers for the mobile trades unit are being kept.
There's actually a question.
Councillor Merrill.
So when the college was first built, we were told that basically the east end of the main building, it would then be another building coming down, I guess that's south. So it'd be an L-shaped building, and that's what I was told at the time, is that's how it was designed. Is that still part of the plan? So basically it would come down, it's hard to explain, but on the right-hand side of B.
Yeah, so essentially like where today the trades trailers are being kept to the, on the map to the right-hand side. Yeah, okay.
Deputy Mayor Kulikowski.
I guess just a question, kind of on the same point then, on the internal discussions, like when Aurora College is talking about this campus, is there a plan then to expand the actual building that currently houses programming and everything?
I don't know if Aurora College is working off of a plan to do that.
Okay.
I think that we are certainly going to include the idea of expansion over time.
Okay.
So again, on that sort of 10-year time horizon, and that's why we're suggesting that, just to make sure that some of the land is kept
Within that space, that's what that, okay.
yes, within the A and C area.
And I guess just to follow up then, is that not their land already to just hold for themselves?
I think it is, but I
Okay.
guess, I think what's happening right now, for example, like perhaps parking might end up expanding into it. So there's sort of this, we're gonna put forward in the plans, the idea of just being cautious about other uses taking over the space, because sometimes it's hard to undo that. Which is why keeping it the landscaping.
Okay. Thank you.
Any further questions? If you'd like to continue.
Okay, so the other map that I would again appreciate your feedback on is to do with housing. So from what we understand right now, and please, so thank you again for this comments about staff and faculty. But as we understand it right now, there seems to be enough capacity for single student housing here for the Aurora campus, but it's family housing that is constrained. So that's one of the premises we're working under. And so on this map, the kind of dotted lines, so obviously the main thoroughfare there is in red, but the dotted lines are intended to be other flows for people. They don't necessarily need to be roads, they might be trails. And so I would really appreciate your feedback on these potential spots for family housing. Again, I think we're working under the assumption that it's likely in the neighborhood of 15 to 20 units. So 15 to 20 students and their families. So number one there, I'm sure you know these lots much better than we do. Number one is what was the blueberry patch and used to be housing, I guess, at one time. Number two is a lot, and I actually don't know who owns that lot. I'm not sure if that's what was referenced earlier, but number two is that vacant
I
lot.
believe it's owned by the Gwich'in Tribal Council.
Is it?
No.
Am I correct, Tony?
GDC.
GDC, okay, thank you. And number three is where there's sort of some housing adjacent to that in a newer development. And then four is the green space that's adjacent to the ski club. So certainly the team from Aurora College at the campus here has given us the feedback that green space is quite rare and likely the community would want to keep that as green space. So that's some feedback we've heard already. yes, any other comments about these spots?
Councillor Merrill.
Is the section you've marked as 4, is that actually owned by ECE? Is that not part of our ski trails?
It's it's right now it's commissioner's land, but it is, if on the action items, the ski trails, it is part of the property that we are trying to acquire.
I got the nod, yeah.
Councillor Devlin.
Yeah, all right. Isn't number 4 a hill? Okay,
Yeah.
That was
Just leave
the
it at that.
feedback we got.
I'll just leave it at that, yeah.
That likely it's not a very, yeah, not a good spot for housing at the best of times.
Might add too, number 3 is unserviced. Would have to put utility service in there, which is quite expensive, right?
We're gonna speak.
Sorry.
Just as a matter, just so you're aware, Amanda and I did meet earlier in the day to kind of discuss, and I did mention things like services and stuff, just in that, but you can certainly feel free to ask questions. I don't know. Hopefully we get the same answer.
Any other questions? Deputy Mayor Kozlowski.
I guess just if you're looking for feedback right now on, 1, 2, 3, 4, my personal choice or opinion would be the Blueberry Patch location. Only because previously that's what it had been. We can certainly use some housing back in that location. I'm pretty sure within the zoning bylaw, if you build a certain amount of homes, you have to put in a park. And so that brings that kind of family activity to the neighborhood again and things like that. So personally, that would be my choice, but so, yeah, thank you.
I think block 1 is owned by education anyway, isn't it? That'll make your process a lot simpler.
I think it actually got turned
Councillor
over.
Merrill.
It got turned over to the housing corporation. You want to check on that?
Oh, okay.
And my understanding, I could be completely wrong here, was that it was the plan for student housing to go in there.
Good. Anything further? Okay, continue. I'm sorry, I didn't see you. Councillor Harder.
No, turn on the side. Was there one?
So this is all proposed. Is there an actual time frame that you guys are looking at possibly doing this, or is?
Not particularly. So what we're doing from the facilities master planning perspective is putting forward some options to ECE. So things that could work potentially. So, obviously a lot 4 there is not a good option. And they haven't secured any funding for this at this point in time. So again, I think that this is in the envelope of all of the changes that are going on with Aurora College. So I have no idea what the time frame would be, but I, again, for the planning purposes, we're looking at the 10-year horizon.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, if you'd like to continue.
Yes, other than just to say thank you for your insights. We have reached out to GTC and IRC as well to get their feedback, and we will be back again. Some other members of my team and I will be back later in April to do a broader engagement now that we have the initial feedback from you as the community leadership. So anyway, thank you. And our email is here, or you can, and to please feel free to reach out, especially if there's anyone else that you'd like us to connect with.
Thank you very much for attending.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Next item number 5, public question period. Any questions from the public? Seeing none. 5.1. Sorry, 6.1. Adoption of the minutes of the March 7th and 9th, 2022 council meeting. I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Gowans and Councillor Merrill. Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion's carried. 7.1, the action items list. Any questions on that? You don't need a. 8.1, under new business, the request for donation of the Muskrat Jamboree. I need a mover and a seconder for the suggested motion. Deputy Mayor Kulikowski and Councillor Devlin. Discussion. Deputy Mayor Kulikowski.
I'd just like to say thank you to the committee for submitting the letter that they gave with a little bit of clarity on some of the discussion from Monday night, and also to SAO Hood for providing some background on the donations as well after the questions on Monday. But I don't have any further questions on the donation request. Thank you.
Any further questions? Councillor Devlin.
First, I just want to say thank you, Muskrat Jamboree. You guys do a great job. And I'm not trying to pick on you guys here at all. And I am in support of this motion right now to provide all of this. I do want to say, in sort of reviewing the donation policy, we do have it built in to the donation policy, a couple of different permanent, so go forward donations on an annual basis, scholarships, sponsorships, and then one sort of grant to a community service organization. And our job isn't to pick winners and losers. Our job is to provide a very equitable playing field to all eligible organizations, for instance, in something like this. So nothing to take away from Muskrat Jamboree at all. But I would like to see going forward a review of the donations policy, and perhaps some sort of formal process where any eligible community service organization can apply for a cash donation. I know that we've got a process in for in-kind donations, but we don't have anything for a cash donation. And I feel that, again, it's not our place to pick winners or losers. We should look at each one on a case-by-case and merit-based basis, whether they've been here for 64 years or been here for 4 years. But again, I do certainly support the request of the Muskrat Jamboree. And I just wanted to say that I'd just like to take a look at that donation policy going forward. So thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments? Seeing none. All those in favor? I would say the motion's carried. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Item 8.2. April 11th Committee of the Whole meeting cancellation. You all should have a copy of the background there. Suggested motion is that Inuvik Town Council hereby cancels the Committee of the Whole meeting scheduled for April 11th, 2022, which is the day of the Muskrat Jamboree. I need a mover and a second. Deputy Mayor Kulikowski and Councillor Devlin. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? Motion carried. We have no bylaws. 10.1, Protective Services Report. Only department head report we have, so I need a mover and a seconder to accept the report. Councillor Merrill, Councillor Harder. Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion's carried. For information items, we have the strategic priorities chart. Any questions on that? None. A research project. 11.2. Item 12, council concerns. Any concerns tonight? Counselor Wayne.
So I was gonna email you guys, but I'll just bring it up now. So we awarded, and I know I did the same thing for the town sign. And, you know, it's part of history. There's a fella from here that spent like months on months designing it, painting it. And we awarded to a certain company to cut it down and take it and kind of reestablish it and everything. It's laying face down in the snow. It's being totally destroyed. And in the future, with council, I think we should make stronger tender, or stronger idea of how they're gonna treat our history. It's kind of laying face down the snowbank. I'm pretty sure it's destroyed. Anything can be fixed, but it took the guy, I know the guy personally, I grew up with him. And it took a lot of time to make that sign, and it's part of history of Inuvik. I think like my biggest concern is that it's part of history of destroyed. The other one is when we're gonna start doing tenders or giving things away, it's history that's valuable to this community, that we put a little more stricter rules as in preserving our history. Thank you.
That's unfortunate. We were assured by the party involved that it would be taken care of.
Well, it's laying face down in the snowbank and the mud, so
Or is it located?
down the road, Navy Road. I just like history of our community. Our community is an engineer-built community. Like this is an engineer-built community, the only one in Canada. And our history is very short here. So the more we build for the future and our children and our great grandchildren and everyone else in the future, show what we had. And that picture has a lot of Inuvik paintings, Squitchin paintings, Dempster Highway. It's got a lot of history. I mean, I would have preferred much if we took it and we stood it up at the end of the Tuck Highway for when people are coming back. So we have two signs, you know. I really like our new one. In the wind, it's like a wind chime, dang dang. But it's a concern for me for anything in the future we do, that we put more rules and stringent things on to preserve our history of the Inuvik. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up, Councillor Wayne. Any other concerns? Seeing none, I need a motion to adjourn. Councillor Harder.